Alright, are we live? Hello, hello, hello. Jamming out. Alright. What up, everyone? Good evening. Hello, hello. Welcome to ARL Extra Innings for the... What month is this? For the August qualifier, ARL number 3. My name is Luke. I am your host this evening. Just me, solo, back again, one-on-one. That's kind of how we like it. I am also one of your ARL program directors, so I'm really excited to be here to talk about this last event. We had a lot. We had a tie in qualification and rankings. We went to a tiebreaker, for the rank 1 spot. We had an upset in playoffs. We had penalties. It was pretty cool. It was really cool. The vibes, the energy in the building during playoffs was awesome. We fielded our second highest robot number ever, which is really cool. And the last final was very close to a tie. Yeah. Yep. So it was very, very tight. And I think I said this back in May, but I expected this out of this game. That, as teams continue to refine their robots and the way the points, the way the points are distributed, it's going to be tight a lot of the time in playoffs, especially our finals, and as we add more and more teams and our alliances get more and more stacked, in the semifinal matches, and we're seeing it, differences of 1 point. It's going to be tight a lot of the time in playoffs, especially our finals, and as we add more. But it's really cool. It's really cool. I think that a lot of our events, maybe going forward now that school's back in session and more teams are coming, I think they're going to come down to line selection and who's picking the right team. But it's really cool. Working the best together, which is great because that's kind of the point of the Arizona Robotics League, right? We want teams to practice all facets of an event rather than just playing robots again. So it's a good opportunity to not just scout, but also how do you analyze and how do you use the data that you're taking. So anyway, I would be remiss. Is it echoing?
Opportunity to not just scout, but also how do you?
Bro, it's been echoing this whole time, and you guys didn't say
the data that you're taking. So anyway, I would be remiss. Is it echoing? Bro, it's been echoing this whole time, and you guys didn't say anything. It's fixed. It's fixed. It's because I was hosting by myself, and I wanted you guys to feel like that there was a lot of me here. There's more than one of me. Yeah, my bad. At least I'm getting the technical difficulties out of the way early. Listen, nobody said anything last event, or last show, but I feel like I flawlessly ran that, even with all the guests. If I forgot something that happened, don't tell me. Wait, audio is off? Whoa.
What about this one? Does this one work? Heck yeah. Do you guys know how much I edited the OBS software here between last show and this show? Not at all. So I really don't know what happened. We getting the Hotbots guide tonight? That's a great question. There will be a Hotbots segment later. I won't get to... Nothing will bring me as much joy than to reveal, the first time I revealed that segment. But the Hotbots is returning. There may be one Hotbot to add. I'll let you guys speculate in the chat who this month's Hotbot. There's just one of them this time. Just one Hotbot. And it is very coveted. The Hotbot is coveted, right? If our Hotbots from July, they proudly showed off during the first August event, but they're sporting a really cool shiny sticker. So if you're the Hotbot from this past event, you can... What's a Hotbot, you ask? Well, I might have to wait and find out. In short, the hot bot is the robot we want to highlight, or my partner in crime, my other ARL program director wants to highlight as his rising star of the month or of the event. Or it's just a robot that tickled his fancy a little bit that he was excited by. So we'll get to the segment a little later, and you guys can try to take a guess at who the hot bot for this month is until we get there. But I would be remiss if I didn't plug, per usual, the social medias that I hope you guys are all following. Can the same hot bot be hot bot for multiple streams? The answer is yes. The answer is yes. They can be. I will give you a hint that that's not the case this month. So there's my hint. That's my one hint. The hot bot, we have a brand new hot bot for this month, and there's only one of them. Last month we had two. This month we just have one hot bot. So, who is the hot bot? I can't tell you. I can't tell you till we get there. I would be remiss if I didn't plug, if you've seen the chat of those links, I didn't plug our social medias. Our Instagram is really kicking off lately, so I suggest you follow us there. You can find all kinds of event coverage during the events there. And the Instagram will be the first place you see the ARL Championship dates dropped, which will be happening soon. And then also highlight our YouTube. It has all of the matches uploaded from this past event. It's where it's going to be uploaded first. And while you're there, if you could hit subscribe, that would actually help us out a ton. Thank you very much. And last but certainly not least, the Discord, where you can find everything early. So the Discord has access to the full ARL ranking spreadsheet. It has access to the full ARL stream. So the full ARL stream that includes the analyst desk is unlisted on our YouTube. So if you want the full stream to go back and listen to our analysts, you'll have to join the Discord and find the link there. Yep, we're working it out in the chat. Those are good guesses. Working it out. All right. So 25 robots from 18 teams. That can only mean one thing. If you weren't there, it's time to recap it. Let me change costumes real quick, and I'll be right back. It's time for our robot roundup. It says July? Bro. Alright, to be fair, I didn't make that. To be fair. What up? It's time for Robot Roundup. The video wasn't updated. It's all ruined. But that's okay, because I got my hat and I shined my star. Bro, it says July. I know. Listen, I'm going to take it to the town mayor. I'm going to take it up with the town mayor, and we're going to fix that for the next, for August number 2. August number 2. All right, cowpokes, who's the mayor? That's a good question. The video guy is in shambles. Yeah. Yeah. The video guy is in shambles. Fumbled the bag. Fumbled the bag of money. All right. Let me get my acting voice ready here. All right. This past weekend at the 3rd Arizona Robotics League Qualifier, we saw 25 robots from 18 different teams compete at Cactus High School. After 30 qualification matches, familiar cowpoke 2403 Team Plasma ranked number 1. They went on to select 2486 and 6352 for the playoffs. The second alliance, captained by 1165, who, we'll see in a second, lost out in the number 1 spot via tiebreaker in the rankings. They picked up 4146 and 2478. Alliance 3, shout out. I don't know why, but we're shouting them out. I wonder if you know. It consisted of 3853, 2486B, and 7755, the Phantom Circuits. 2 of our ARL Hotbots from ARL July. I lost the accent. That's okay. And finally, our number 4 seed had 991 as the captain, who was making their season debut. And they selected 498 and 9704, also making their ARL debut, so welcome to them, to round out the alliance. In the playoff tournament, the number 1 seed swept through the upper bracket to reach the finals. In the lower bracket, saw the number 4 seed, the accents back, saw the number 4 alliance upset the number 2, but eventually lose to the number 3 alliance in the lower bracket finals. The finals was a matchup between the number 1 and number 3, where Alliance 3 took finals 1. Alliance 1 took finals 2, and we're going to get to it. Alliance 1 should not have taken finals number 2. That was kind of thrown. Respect Alliance 3. We may have thrown the second finals match right at the end. It wasn't me. I didn't say it. I'm just reading the script. And finally, in the rubber match, Alliance 3 finished the upset, becoming the winners of the ARL Qualifier number 3. Huge upset. Shakes up the rankings a little bit. Not too much, but shakes up the rankings. So congrats to all the teams that competed. It was a really great playoffs. I don't know what you all thought, but we kind of talked about the opening of the show. But so many matches decided by 1 point, 1 penalty. It really emphasizes how crucial everything in a match is at ARL, right? You need your taxis. You need to play clean defense. You need to not get silly penalties, right? So it's when the scores are this close, it's important to play a really clean game. So congrats to the number 3 seed for taking the win, and just how they did that. I guess we can dive a little bit more into. Yeah. FTA Nate, there's wanted posters. I put wanted posters out for you. My suggestion is you stay away from the premises next week. Man, the next event's next week. Sheesh. All right, so here we are. What's the bounty? Good question. I don't have much to offer. Oh, I have some cones from last year. I have a lot of cones. From last year. Also, a lot of those purple cubes unblown up. So there might be some currency related in there. So this was shout out to our newcomers. That's kind of the at the bottom here. So we had 3 teams make their ARL debut this month. 698, 991, and 9704. So congrats to all of them. Shout out to 9704 making their ARL debut as a whole. They did a really good job. 2 of them making playoffs. So qualification, huh? It was a lot tighter at the top than I thought. I am field side majority of the day, and I watch a lot of the matches, but I didn't quite realize. Even though our analyst desk did such a good job talking about it, I didn't quite realize just how tight the number 1 seed was until I looked back when the event was over. I was looking on Blue Alliance. So literally had to go down tiebreaker, right? As you guys can, as everyone can see, the ranking score here. If you're new to FRC, this is your first order sword, right? Ranking score tied above 2. So that's impressive, and it's especially impressive because 1165 goes 7-0. During quals, and 2403 goes 6-1. So Plasma made up a match, made up 2 RP, just in the bonus RP to tie the ranking score, right? And so then obviously the first tiebreaker was used, and that's why 2403 ranked number 1. But 1165 very, very, very close to ranking number 1, and if they did, I wonder how much if it would have shaken up the final alliances at all. I didn't include it in my roundup, but we had a decline, right? We had 1 decline? Can't quite remember. I think we had 1 decline in alliance selection. But I do, what I think is really interesting, and it's hard to tell just because of how my screen is laid out. What I think is really interesting, that's not going to help, whatever. We'll just use it up here. So if you go down the rankings a bit, let me get my face out of the way.
right? If you look at the rankings, I find it really interesting. We did have one decline, right? Yeah, that's right. And we all know how that ended up, don't we? Number 3 seed. We all know how that ended up. So what I thought was really interesting is the discrepancy in our co-op scores. That's really interesting to see. Right, we have a lot of teams hovering around. First of all, 991 with 0 co-op score, but ranking 4. It's a flex. So not quite the amount that I was expecting to see. Right, Plasma with a 0.57, which is what I expect to see out of the number 1 rank. To be honest, so I'm just I don't know if it's just the luck of the draw with the match schedule. I literally don't know the answer, and honestly, I don't need to know the answer. I'm just curious for y'all's own, prep for the next ARL. If most of the teams aren't co-oping, maybe don't waste your note. I mean, it's not wasted, but it goes towards the RP, right? I mean, it goes towards the bonus, but maybe don't bank on the co-op happening if it's not happening. It doesn't look like, via the numbers, it's not happening very often. Very often at all. But, Plasma had over 50%, right? And they ranked 1. So maybe that is the sauce. Who knows? Yeah, and it might just work out where the matches were such that only one team on one of the alliances could amp. And then just but even if that's the case, it's a trend that you should pay attention to. So then when you do your match strat for next event, maybe everybody's just unless we know for absolute fact that this is happening, we're not gonna attempt it, right? Who knows? Everything else, numbers wise, I think are pretty normal. Just 2403 quite literally blowing Teleop average match out of the water here compared to everybody else, which is really impressive. I mean, a full 6 points higher than the next team. That's pretty cool. So it's awesome that Plasma. I didn't touch on it too much after July, but I did the Las Vegas watch party right earlier this year, and my big thing that I was talking about at that one was that Plasma would be so good if they could amp. Well, now they can amp for themselves, and we saw it a lot in July and this event. And so that's what's really throwing their match score up a lot, is just constantly scoring under amplified during the amplified period. But other than that, there's not too many other trends to really pick up, right? Auto, you could see probably the teams that are in the 16s have a multi-note auto, right? They have something where it's 1, 2, or 3. So, right, 1165 with the highest auto average, which is what helped propel them to 7-0. But yeah, 25 teams, 18 or 25 robots, 18 teams. Yeah, so I was curious about that earlier in the day. I definitely was noticing 3053 not running the auto. Worked out okay. But I'm sure that might have been a stress point to have to work around in qualification. Still ranked 3 though, so that's really good. But the ranking score for ARL Championship is kind of what we focus on a lot, right? So in this case, 2403 doesn't take the W, right? 3053 leads the 3 seed to the win, but they won with a ranking score of 1.71. So they are a full 2 ranking point threshold off of the number 1 ranked championship team prior to August. They're basically a full ranking score under, which is equates to 4 points. So while qualification and the ranking score might not matter for winning the event, right? You can still get picked by the number 1 seed, or you can pull off an upset. It's definitely super vital to gather as many ranking, like bonus ranking points as possible, because they really help with the top of the ARL Championship standings, which is it has the potential to get a little tight up there. So we'll take a look at that at the end of the show. But anyway, 25 robots, 18 teams. That's really great. We really are happy and excited to see that at ARL. Spoiler alert, get ready for a tight one next weekend. We are packed. We are packed. I'm going to touch on the event next weekend at the end of the show. But please keep an eye out. We will have a team update next week. And it's going to be carrying really important information for the event. Not necessarily rule changes, but for the event, it's going to be information you want to know. We'll also communicate that information in email blasts to the teams and post it in the Discord. So please keep an eye out for that information. Like I said, we are packed next weekend, so I want to make sure that all teams are we're in the same line of communication on that. Okay, so now what I think is probably more interesting than the rankings after qualification is the alliance selection. I thought the alliance selection was really interesting, really interesting from the get-go. We were on the side of the field, right, as the qualifications are happening. We obviously talk about how the rankings are looking and how we think the alliances will shape out. And to be honest, I didn't see some of these alliances coming, so it was actually pretty fun to see. So all merch will be back for the ARL Championship. So if you want merch from this year, it will be available for purchase you could pre-order like last year, but then purchase at the ARL Championship. Which, again, if you didn't hear my announcement at the top of the show, ARL Championship dates also coming next week. So they will drop first on our Instagram. Head on over there and give that a follow if you want to see it first. And then eventually it will drop in the Discord and email blast it to teams. But we have a special drop coming for the announcement, so that'll happen first on our Instagram. Coolio. All right. So 2403. If anyone from Plasma's in chat, or if anyone from the Coconuts are in chat, I would love to know some more some background around the first pick. I actually didn't have Plasma taking 2486 with the first pick. I think maybe someone, you guys, listen, you guys in the chat know the event better than I do because I was running all around. But did Coconuts B? Did you guys break down in the last match, or am I wrong on that? It felt like somebody broke down in the last match, or a couple teams had broken down in like the last match before a line selection, and that may have influenced some of the picking. I'm curious, like just genuinely, I'm curious. But the 2403 pick of the Coconuts made sense. It just I didn't see it. I didn't see that coming. Yeah, okay. Well, we know, like, listen, like, you guys cook, like, 2486 cooks, so, like, it didn't make sense to me, but, like, obviously it made sense to Plasma, right? When you guys are working, you're cooking, right? So yeah. So that was interesting. And then 1165's pick, 4146, after 3853, was also interesting. 4146, pretty good at the amp, right? They're good ampers. So, and they have a solid bot like down in that corner. So that was interesting. But then I really liked Alliance 3 when that alliance was built. That was I was really I liked that one a lot. I thought from the beginning there was a lot of firepower there. I thought just strategically there was probably only one or two ways to stop like a high scoring match there. Yeah, 2486B with their amp and auto. Yes, yeah, 100%. Agreed. And it's clutch, right? Having multiple robots on the team that can do the amp changes things greatly, right? Absolutely. Because you really want to try to get into good rhythm with your teammate, right? If one of your teammates is getting boxed out, you want to be able to hit the amp and then they can score, vice versa, or if they get slowed up acquiring a note, right? Obviously, strategically, the goal is to have the amplified period 24/7, right? So, having multiple teams that can do the amp is super helpful. And then Alliance 4, I think for what it was built correctly. I think that all 3 robots could score, and then 2 of the 3, or maybe all 3. I never saw 991 do it, but maybe all 3 could do the amp. So I think on paper it made sense. It's tough to leave 7755 on the board at this point in time. Like, you guys got to know that, like, they've been in the playoffs deep pretty much every event, and they keep getting better at driving right in it. So to leave a very experienced like ARL robot that's scoring pretty well on the table is hard to do, and that's why I think they got gobbled up so fast. Anyway, alliances ended up really interesting. I know we had a decline, which is interesting. I don't know. We don't really have to. Well, I guess we have it every so often. We have declines at ARL, but I thought that the front runners for the playoffs were Alliance number 1 and Alliance number 3 after alliance selection. Yeah, it's possible. It's possible. I know, just the nature of ARL. A lot of teams go through robot problems, and really it boils down to sometimes, especially when you're the lower seed, you have to kind of take a chance, right? It's the only way to keep your point potential up high with the other point potentials. You could play it safe with someone who hasn't broke, but maybe their point potential is lower. So I don't really know too much about the 4 seed, but I just know in general, yeah, it's like an extra layer of scouting at ARL that's hard. Is the data points are so little that like you have to guess almost and try to figure out if robot problems are difficult or are going to persist through playoffs, or if they're just a one-off or a morning. Such a short period of time to try to figure it out too. Yeah, so 94-32 surprisingly left off the board for playoffs. I also was shocked. Like, literally, I was very surprised. For exactly the reason I just said. They were definitely broken for a lot of the day, and they were not functioning 100% in their last match. But if you were a lower seed, as in the 4 seed, I guess the 3 seed ended up being okay, huh? But the 4, I would go for that risk, right? Right, I would go for the risk at the very, just the point potential there is really high. But yeah, surprising not to see 94-32 on the board. Absolutely. And I don't think that'll happen again, to be honest. So surprising. But cool. All right, so playoffs, huh? I don't know if I'll get the vibe of the chat if you guys want to. It's just me this evening, so I know this is going to go by a little bit faster. I know we ran late last time. Probably, if you don't want to listen to me ramble for an hour and a half, we'll go through a little bit quicker. But I leave it up to y'all. If you guys like watching the matches kind of all the way through every time, we can. Like the playoff matches. I think I'm going to skip match number 1. The recap on that is 498. The Carnivore wasn't plugged in, and so they didn't move. So, like, match number 1 was a bit of a blowout. I don't think it's too much worth strategically talking about. And honestly, I think we're going to skip right over match number 2 as well. It was just I think that these were the clear, more powerful alliances asserting themselves in these first matches. But then I absolutely want to look at the uppers and lowers, match 3 and 4, and then we'll look at everything through. So let's take a look. And by the way, if you haven't subscribed to the ARL YouTube, it would mean a whole bunch. Look how many videos we have on here, all those matches. It would mean it would help a lot. Let me get myself over to the center here, where I'm not going to be in the way of the score or the matches. All right, so let's start with what I say, match 3. All right, So we have the Alliance 3 versus Alliance 1. So this is the upper bracket semi. And this is going to see the number 1 seed take down the number 3. And these are always interesting, right? These are always interesting because we know now that the number 3 takes the dub in the end. So it's going to be interesting to see what does the number 3 alliance change going into finals. And maybe it's just the intake not breaking, as Braden is alluding to. as you all in the chat are alluding to, maybe it's just the intake not breaking. And maybe what does Alliance 1 change, right? That's my favorite part of FRC, is the strategy changing in between matches. It's partly why I miss doing best of 2s for each round, which is why for ARL Champs we bring that back. Because it losing 1 doesn't necessarily mean that you're the weaker alliance, right? You can just have freak accident. So, all right. So one thing I noticed about these 2 alliances is that they were so evenly matched in auto every single time. It was like 1 point difference every time, which I thought was really cool. Even in this match where so blue doesn't get their last note in there, but they normally it's so close, so close. So composition wise, let's talk composition. Alliance 3, 3 subwoofer cyclers, right? They are all 3 of them are cycling across the field back to the subwoofer to score. Red, in this case the 1 seed, right? They know this clearly, right? They have 6352 primed and ready to camp that spot, to slow that cycling down. And then at the same time, you have 3853 and 2046B cycling the amp, or the ability to cycle the amp. In this case, in this match, intake no work for Prytronics. Prytronics does shift to playing defense really quickly, which is good, and they're playing defense in a really good spot. So on the red, on the 1 seed, we have 2486 who's cycling the full field, and Plasma who's also cycling full field, but they don't have to go up to the subwoofer to score. They can score from farther back. They are trading off these amp cycles, as you're seeing, which is cool. Penalties. I'm telling you, that zone is, as we're seeing more and more as we play ARL matches, we're seeing more of this zone being played, and teams getting really daring and playing in here. And when there's 3 or 4 robots down there, yikes. As someone who has a robot with an intake that goes outside their frame, it's scary down there. It is scary down there. So at 30 seconds, they call 6352 back, which is pretty standard, just to make the risk of drawing that penalty. This is really good here, just to highlight good defensive play down here. A lot of times you can overplay yourself as a defender, where you move too much, right? But a lot of the times to play good defense, you just don't even have to move. You have to make them make the move. So I was wondering that, because I noticed that Plasma was also scoring from a lot closer than they have been, right? If you go back and, I don't know if I'll find it, but, right, Plasma scoring from a lot closer, right, than they normally would score from over here. This game and where you play defense and it, in playoffs especially, it's brutal. Robots are breaking. You gotta adapt. You gotta figure out. That's why the subwoofer is so nice, because you can at least if you can score that one, you can always fall back to it. If your longer range isn't there. I forgot to even mention, but leaving 6352 on the table was also really interesting, because they had this ability with how close a lot of our ARL playoff matches have been, and even quals, leaving a climb on the board till the very end, to give a climb to the number 1 seed, was curious. I mean, I understand data wise, I probably, if I looked at everybody's data, I'd probably understand, but just thinking about it as a whole, leaving a climber, on the board is really curious. It's interesting. So yeah, not much to mention on that one, right? Like, the 20 Coconuts B solo cycling the subwoofer and only 7755 able to capitalize on the amplified period. They just scored less notes because they only had 2 scores instead of 3, and they didn't score as much during the amplified period, which is why you see the score so ballooned, right? It's only 5-note difference but one was doing it a lot more often during the amplified period. So, cool. You guys have any thoughts on that one? Hey, that's why you make spares or duct tape. One of the two. Spares or duct tape. So semi 4. This is going to pit the number 4 seed up. Oh, what did I do there? The number 4 seed up against the number 2 seed. This is one of the matches, I believe, where we had a difference at the end of the game by 1 point. Because we haven't talked about them yet, the number 4 seed, the 498 robot can score in the amp and struggled to score from the podium. But their auto, when doing things, is scoring more than 1. And then the rest of their team, and the rest of the number 4 seed, 9704 and 991. 9704's auto help good, right? It was consistent. The number 3 seed have your 1165 anchoring the auto with 4146, getting the taxi after their 1, and then 2478 kind of stuck in this amp. The amp side auto is really difficult because of how little room you have. So you're often going to see a team default to not moving even after they score their 1, because they don't want to run into their teammates. If you can figure out a way to take advantage of all of those teams, then I think that is super beneficial. But that's for, I guess, ARL champs or something. Boy, if I could count the number of times 498 had a penalty for holding too many notes, I'd have so many notes. So in this match, yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny. So you could kind of just see the difference in intensity between the 2 and the 4 compared to the 1 and the 3. That's what I meant. Like when I saw the alliance selection happen, it was like, man, the 1 and the 3, I think they're just operating on a different level, right? Like in the just the last match we saw, that midline was hit so fast by both teams that there's basically no notes left after the first 10 seconds. Lines 4 had 498 and 9704 trading off of their amp cycles. One thing to note that even if your teammates are missing their amps or their shots, those are notes for you to use later during the amplified period, so it's not a waste, right? So just like when you're building your alliances, I almost would keep in mind just the sheer volume of notes that are being run across the field, not just the points they're making, right? And obviously I know like you can feed across the field, but teams that are really savvy, if their teammate misses, they're not going to pick that up and score it right away. They're going to leave it there until their next amplified period, and then they're going to have 3 or 4 sitting there for you to just pick up and score really fast and really maximize. One amplified note was the determining factor, and so would have been the determining factor in 3 of our 6 or 4 of our 6 playoff matches, or I guess maybe a little bit less, 3 of our 7. It was so close, that one amplified note, right? So both what was actually nice to see is that at least every alliance, sans the number 1 seed, ran basically the same strat. The number 1 seed elected to play a little more defense than most. I guess in this case, Alliance 2 is not fully functional. And even without a fully functional team, they only lose this match by 1. So, but down to the wire, parks are getting increasingly more valuable as well. Don't knock a park, right? Number 4 seed almost loses this because 991 doesn't park, right? But on the same token, Alliance 2 loses this, and this robot right here, if it could have just gotten back, right, 2478 could have just gotten back, then they would have tied, right? So don't underestimate the value of parks. Honestly, during the regular season, as a drive coach, like I didn't, for the most part, didn't respect parks very much, just because of the competitions, like the regionals and championship. Like I was mostly coaching like we're just gonna cycle to the end, cycle to the end, cycle to the end. With how close all the margin of victory for all these ARL matches are so close, I don't think you can ignore parks. I think you need them. I think like they're insanely more valuable during ARL than they were during the regular season. All right, so lowers finals. This is going to pit the number 4 against number 3. You can't say that very often, that the lowers finals is number 4 versus number 3. So kind of dueling autos here. Red out on top via their I think the full breadth of the team making their auto notes, right? It looks like 9704 jammed theirs and did not shoot. Yeah, exactly, Eugene. I like those park points are so little, like just on paper. But if the competition that you're at, everybody's kind of the same level and scoring the same, they mean so much. Yeah, and especially a climb. That's what I meant. I was shocked. I was really surprised by 6352 being left on the board because they had a climb. And 3 points, like that's really good. Like compared to the other ways, the other values for points. So definitely ARL wise, huge. The end game stuff is even though not many teams are like, no one's trapping, but not a ton of teams are climbing. It's actually it's coming. It's affecting a lot of matches. I'm not sure if 6352. Maybe someone with some scouting data would probably know more than me on 6352 struggling during quals. But yeah, I think general surprise that they didn't get picked until later. So in this match for the 4 seed. 991, unfortunately, I think they broke something right in the beginning and couldn't play offense, so they just elected to play defense. And then 9704, I believe, also maybe I can't exactly remember what the reason was, but they threw maybe a belt or a chain or something, so it kind of just very quickly devolved into one robot on blue here. Yeah, zip ties is a makeshift tensioner, works wonders. Add it. You should if you haven't tried that, you should definitely add it to your bag of tricks for a competition. Absolutely. Everybody be breaking. But definitely the number 3 seed using this lower bracket run as a way to basically practice more, right? They become faster with each other, which is, I think, going to be very important come finals, right? To be honest, the number 4 seed, I know from talking with them after, their original plan going into this match was to send 991 down to play similar subwoofer defense that 6352 had played. That the number 1 seed was going to do, but with their swerve module acting up, they didn't quite make it down there. But close match, both teams having robots go down on them. The autos hitting, super important, right? Getting more contributors than just one robot in auto is really big. So potentially move that right up your pick list if you're building alliances. Look for who's the most consistent in auto, or who has an auto that complements the most powerful auto on the alliance. And then 7755 with the climb, and that I think these are 3 parks, right? I think 3853 is touching the tape there. So 3 parks, it kind of just it really expands that margin of victory there. We can look at the breakdown here. Yeah, ARL is a tough cookie. It's a tough cookie. ARL giveth, ARL taketh away with robots, right? You know, and honestly, if you guys were around for our first season of ARL when we were having to use, like, a lot of events where we had to use phantom robots and things like that, and several of the events people had back-to-back matches, like 3 in a row. Almost nice. It's definitely nicer than it used to be. It used to be a real grind. It's still a grind. It's definitely still a grind. So we do not record, to answer your question. I did look into it more. We aren't saving the raw camera feed. So just the only thing that gets clipped from the in the full VOD is the full VOD, including the overlays. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no problem. October of 22. Hey, you know, at least we got the events off, right? If everything feels so easy now. Drift in the swerve drive. Well, that could definitely happen pretty easily. It's definitely not supposed to. And I know there's a bunch of experts in our community that can help you out with that, for sure. ARL 22 is a fever dream. I agree, Izzy. I agree. This might be a good opportunity to plug the Discord again. If you're not in the Discord, there is a lot of robot conversation that happens there, including help, right? Sharing of code, suggestions, people flexing on their new robot additions. So we definitely head over there. But yeah, drift not good in this work. There's definitely something maybe in there that can, not physically. I mean, there might be something in there physically, but it's probably a code thing. All right, so this is your finals 1. And so if we remember correctly, Alliance 3 lost to Alliance 1 in the second round upper bracket, right? And so I'm curious, we have so many of the people on the field in the chat tonight. Was there a ton of strategy change between, uppers, semis, and finals 1 from the Blue Alliance, from Alliance 3 side of things? My guess is the conversation went something like, I think we would have won if we all worked. And then everybody was like, yeah, let's just do it again. But I am curious. Sometimes it's just that easy. We would have won if we didn't break, and then we just hope we didn't break. Yep. Okay, that's what I thought. Exactly the same strategy. And to be honest, it looked like Alliance 1 ran it back as well, with the duo amping and one team defending, right? So, all right, we'll watch it through. Here. Keep my eye on the chat for any more info. So I think this is one of the examples of these autos are starting to really dial in, and things are really close out of auto. The fact that we have a team with a 4-node auto as the first pick of the 3 seed is kind of crazy, and it's cool to see that at ARL. In past years, it's sometimes just been the most powerful auto, like, is usually gone really early. But seeing a cool auto like that so deep is pretty awesome. Listen, I'm impressed at all with the path plan. All the different autos teams are cooking up with path planner, and I'm especially excited to see things as we approach the state championship and the ARL Championship, because I know for a fact teams are going to start going for that middle line more and more and more. Yes, the steel rare was really nice. Yeah. Was it this one where Plasma took 2 super crazy hits off their intake and it was totally fine? Maybe it was Finals 3. Right in the beginning, I'm going to go back. Was it this one or is it Finals 3? We can see the steel again. Maybe it was Finals 3. Or maybe it was Finals 2. We'll figure it out. Finals 3. They took crazy hits, like in a row, like bam, bam. Which is a testament to the rigidity of their intake. So, Finals 3 and 2. Okay. We'll obviously look at both. 2 broke. Oh, interesting. I didn't realize it broke. Oh, okay. I'll have to look closer. I just remember standing field side, and when I saw those 2 hits on the intake, and I was just like, yep, I feel that as an over bumper intake robot. I feel that in my bones. Yeah, you know what? This kind of watching this match reminds me. We saw a lot, and I mean a lot of penalties down in the source zones this weekend. I think more than we saw at any of the other ARLs. I think teams are getting faster. I think they're getting a fuller head of steam in the midfield. I think the defenders are maybe playing a little bit too tight, or they're getting sideswiped. But a lot of penalties. I would go as far as next weekend, if you're doing pre-match strategy, it might be worth it to remind everybody just how easy it is to get clipped in there. Oh, your swerve was acting up. And that's why you guys play defense. Because that was a switch off of the normal thing, right? 63-52 would go over there, right? Yeah, I definitely noticed that. And you're right, Plasma definitely held their own, and 63-52 was able to score during the amplified period, right? I think this is a strategy that a lot of teams can take to the bank, where, you know, if a team can only cycle, is a team is cycling at a rate of like 1 to 2 or 3 of yours, have your partner hold on to that note until amplified. It's almost worth sitting there for 10 seconds, right? Because you get so many more points, right? More than double. So the way these were clipped and the way I have the subscribe and then, oh, there we go. It's not covered, right? So really coming down to teleop, right? Red had the lead out of auto, but and then 10 penalties added to. By the way, this is my soapbox, and I'm not going to ever get off of it. I really wish they would update. I understand, so I'm old enough to be in the era where penalties used to detract points from your score if you were committing the penalty, rather than give points to the other team. I like it more this way for obvious reasons. But what I don't like is it's not intuitive at all for someone who doesn't understand FRC to look at the score breakdown, right? Like, if I didn't know FRC, I would look at the score breakdown and I'd be like, this team committed 10 points of penalties, but like their score isn't reflecting that. Like it's not intuitive, right? Like it's not intuitive that Alliance 1 committed the penalties, right? So yeah. Anyway, that's my soapbox. I'm not. That's my hill I'll die on. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But penalty is a major factor in this one. But also, if potentially if Red had all 3 robots working, it would have been a lot closer, like we see in these other finals. So here we are, finals 2. It really shakes out to be almost identical to the first finals, except that 2046 is working better. And honestly, if it wasn't for maybe a kind of a falter at the end for Alliance 3, we probably would have been over in 2. Yeah, it's tough when your swerve acts up in finals. I've been there. It's like you never can get it. Oh, these are the hits. Use the hits. These are crazy. Look at the middle of the field here. Here's 1. Boom. 2. Boom. I was like, holy moly. That's 2 right after the other. Let's watch one more time. Super slow-mo replay. Here we go. Let me grab the... Oh, no, it blurs it? Lame. Okay, I'll just put it in super slow-mo. Playback speed. Super slow. Play. I mean, you could just see the recoil. That's wild. So the intake broke on that one. But it worked the rest of the game, right? So it broke, but it still worked. Yeah, Nate, I think that way's so much better. Like the way, at least for this year's score bug, it doesn't make it. It's not very intuitive for, we have a lot of people come to ARL who it's their first ever FRC event because that's kind of the point. And and I've now answered and fielded that question a dozen times because it's not intuitive. Intake's hanging, but it's working. I mean, plasma and the linear slide, linear actuated intake, name a better duo. Really, really good for that exact reason. Oh, Nate, I forgot you're in the know. That's right. You're in the channels. Yeah. Honestly, it's almost every ARL event. I kind of like talk through the match and we get to the end and they go, so they committed the penalties, but it added to their score. And I'm like, no, it's actually the other team committed the penalties, but it's showing under theirs because it adds to their score. So not too much different on this one. You got 2486 playing defense again. The defense was really, really good around the subwoofer. I gotta say, from both 6352 and 24 and the coconuts, because to be perfectly honest, with how in sync the number 3 seed started to get in finals, if this defender didn't do such a good job down here, it could have easily been a blowout, literally, or at least very large scores. So right here at the end so Alliance 1 gets one more amplified period off, and they're able to, what did I just do? They're able to capitalize it, I think, with 1 or 2 notes. But here's where I think if Alliance 3 just kind of chills and they don't try to do too much here and they just park, we're good to go. But there was a foul called. Foul called is like right here. There it is. That foul right there. Obviously accidental. Obviously not on purpose. Obviously, if you're not behind the glass, it's really hard to see. I'll go through it again. We'll go through it again. It's not easy because the score, while it's supposed to be real-time updated, you can't trust it all the time, right? So in that moment, I think it's 2486B who grabs the foul going for a note, right? We'll double check. Oh no, they kind of just, their route back from midfield, just a little sketchy. Honestly, really good work by the Red Alliance here. I don't know, I went back a little too far here, but good work. Plasma right here. Actually, that's huge heads up. To kind of time your cycle to ride, to kind of box them out, I thought is just really good move. And then they draw the penalty down here. No, they didn't push them anywhere. There was no pushing, right? 2046B was driving themselves in there, but just positioning-wise, right? Like, positioning-wise, it was really, really good. And so the foul's drawn, and this is what gives Red the lead right at the end. And with both 6352 and 2486 Prime kind of losing comms on the other side of the field or not moving, it tipped the scales of the match for sure, right? It definitely tipped the scales of the match because Plasma was kind of on their end at the end. And you can see, right, so this final was determined by 1 point. And yes, like both teams, I think this is 10. This is 10. This is 5, right? So that one extra foul, I know Red Alliance committed 2, but like that one foul is what tipped the scales. That one 5-pointer at the very end. Which defense do I think was better? Just in general, I think that it depends hugely on how the Alliance scores. I think it comes down 100%, exactly what Eugene is saying. Alliance 3 could only score from the subwoofer. 100%, you park someone down at the subwoofer. They all have to go there, right? In the day and age where everybody has swerve and people are really, really fast, you have to figure out, you got to give yourself an edge as a defender. And the way you have an edge is you know where they're going to go before they do, right? And so if you know they have to go to the subwoofer, that was the other one. Oh, you're absolutely right, Nate. In addition to the foul, the climb was the big one. That's the part I forgot. So the climb, right? So right here, if we don't even park, or we go around to the other side, we park over here. The climb is counted fully, right? It's counted as a full climb. Instead, it's only counted as +1 as the park. So the climb negate was actually the big one. Absolutely right. I had that in my notes just from watching I saw it happen live, and I was like, that's gonna negate it. Don't particularly like that rule. Just saying, don't particularly like that rule. But that's the rule. That's the rule. Yeah. So unlucky loss, or at least, everything is every loss, every win has luck involved. Number 1 seed did a really great job keeping it close, and then when they're with robots that were struggling, Plasma held it down and scored a ton of points. Right. Yeah. Yeah, I definitely I saw it happen live, and I was like, oh no. I was like, no, that's gonna negate the climb. They had it. But sometimes what you have to do is either a low seed or a high seed is keep the match score as close as you possibly can and hope someone makes a mistake. And so in this case, even though I know they're the lower seed, but with only one fully working robot, they're kind of the underdog at this point. They already lost match 1, so the number 1 seed able to keep it really, really close puts the pressure on, the other team, and some mistakes were made, and that's why we went to a rubber match. All right, so finals 3, the rubber match. As you can see, I've already watched these through a couple times. Just last night, I was curious to relive it all. So once again, we have a banger auto. One missed note from on blue, but it was so impressive to see both these autos at full beans, right? Like I was saying earlier, the auto scores were just separated by one point like every time. Yeah, and man, those amp cycles can, especially when you're only playing 2 offense, right? When you're playing 2 offense, you almost need those 2. We can delete that one, can't we? You almost need those. You need those amp cycles to be perfect when you're only running 2 offense, right? So did you all find that red? You had issues shooting red side but not blue side, or was it just both sides with difficulty with vision tracking? Just out of curiosity. And was it the projector? I'm just curious, what might have caused that. I don't know if we've encountered that issue yet on 498. Ooh. Is that our first ban? Yeah, bring the ban hammer. How fun. Exciting. Camera got tweaked. Okay. That makes sense. Yeah. I definitely felt that at a 498 side of things, we shot worse from the podium as the day went on as well. And so we just ended up switching to just cycling subwoofer. So I was curious. I wonder if there's not a lot of windows in there, but the light, I guess, could be changing. I don't know how much of a factor that really plays but could just be all of the hard hits, the camera stuff, and things slowly get weird. But again, I gotta say, really, really impressive defense from 6352 and 2486 regular prime. It's so easy to. Okay, that was a penalty. That wasn't very good. Oh, bro, we're getting raided by bots. How excited! No one zoomed in on April tag. Well, I hope not. It's super easy to play defense in front of the subwoofer if you do it the easy way, right? And the easy way is all you got to really do is just park there, right? You just park there, and you're doing you don't even have to move sometimes, and you're doing a super good and helpful job. But to play aggressive around it requires a lot more skill, and you're doing it on the other side of the field, right? And you're doing it around a few penalty zones, so doing it so effectively is impressive. All right, so congrats again to Alliance 3 for I lost my headphones. For pulling off the upset. It was an impressive run. I believe this marks the first ARL event that doesn't have a winner. It marks the first ARL qualifier that has just event at all, that has a winner not named 498 or 2403. So, as an event runner, like, I'm really excited because that's the goal. That's our goal, right? And our goal is to have as highly competitive in the state as possible events, and we want to see every month a new team comes out and owns the field and takes the dub, because we get so little chances to do so during the regular season, and then we have to also compete with teams coming in from not our state, right, at the same time. Braden, it is hotbot time. Where are we at? Right. Past 9 o'clock. Oh my god, we watched all the matches. It is in fact hotbot time. I hope everybody is ready for this month's hotbot. Adam cannot be with us this evening, so I'm gonna do my best. I'm gonna do my best in his stead. We're going to do team reviews. Oh, like how each team did? Or what do you mean? We could talk about teams. Let's do it after the Hotbot. After Hotbot. Yeah, Mr. Hotbot himself was lost to the Hotbot verse. Let's, without further ado, I'll stop talking. Here we are. I'm in the Hotbot verse. Play my intro here. Here we are back for another edition of Schroyer's Hotbots. Now, Schroyer cooked up something special for this one. I think this is not going to come as too big a shock for our chat this evening. Our one and only Hotbot for ARL August Qualifier 3 is 3853 Tritronics with their new and improved super-powered shooter thing. 3853 takes the Hotbot for the month. Very impressive showing, both not just in quals, but also obviously leading that alliance in playoffs. Having the chutzpah to decline the number 2 seed and form their own alliance. Just really, really impressive. I think that at first I was... I gotta be honest. At first, I was like, okay, they put more. They gave their shooter more power, but they still only score from the subwoofer. So, is that helping that much? But after watching you guys play, oh heck yeah, it is. You shoot faster. You shoot sooner, right? You shoot with more, like obviously more power. So like the odds of the notes sometimes not getting up and in all the way, or like falling out because of the angle. Kraken motor upgrade. Huge. Spins up quicker. That's exactly right. That's exactly what I noticed. And by the way, you too could have seen the future Hotbot of the month first, or upgrades first, if you were in the ARL Discord. So, that was cool. Also, you can tell that I'm not supposed to be here. This is not my universe because my camera on this is facing, like, I should be flipped, right? Like, I should be like this, but on this one, I'm like that. So you can tell this is not where I live. This is the Hotbot verse. This is the Hotbot verse.
So congratulations to 3053. Make sure at the next event you find one Schroyer the Hotbot Extraordinaire, and he will deem you worthy of the critically acclaimed, the sought after Hotbot sticker that can go on your robot. Yeah, really great job. Really, really great event. The other big thing, again, as a drive coach, and I think I said it. I think I did. You guys can remind me. I'm pretty sure I said it to the drive team like after, I don't know, like the first match or the second match that you guys played. Driver was awesome. Awesome driving. Really, really impressive driving, especially in the open field. Like spinning before you got to where you were going, so you could easily bounce off other robots or sneak into little like tight places quicker. Really good driving. So keep that up, absolutely. That's yes, you get a sticker, the critically acclaimed, the sought after, the rare Hotbot sticker. You'll get it at the next ARL event, which will be next weekend. Awesome. Congrats again. I gotta get like a theme song. I gotta cook with Schroyer. We gotta get a theme song that plays during this segment. I feel like once the video goes away, the hype kind of dies. We gotta say hype around here. I also don't have a cowboy hat as my gimmick, so it's hard for me to carry it. All right. Great. Congrats again on the Hotbot. And now for what mostly everybody else, I guess, is waiting for after that is the ARL rankings update. So a couple housekeeping things. I know, again, we're running way past 9 here. But a couple housekeeping things before we go into the rankings. ARL event next weekend. I can't believe it. Please keep an eye out for a team update next week. It's going to be really important. We have... I'm not going to give too much away, but let's just say we have like our largest event ever next month. Or next week. I say month? Next week. Largest event ever next week. Borderline regional number. So... please look out for that team update and that team email blast, and we'll post it in the Discord. It's really, really important. Like, it'll be important information for how your team should structure your day and what you can expect when you get there. I'm just going to preface it now. Our goal with the Arizona Robotics League is to put as many robots on the field as possible, right? Like, that is number one priority. So if we have to sacrifice some other things, we're going to do that. Right? And so in this case, space is going to be a little weird. ARL 2 comp days may be something that we explore. Will not be for this season. But if suddenly next year we have 40 teams or 40 robots registered come July, it may be something we look at. But again, our number one priority is to make it as accessible for every team as possible. So for a lot of teams, coming in for a 2-day event is really hard. Doing more than 4 alliances is also something that we will explore if this number of teams that are registered, number of robots that are registered, stays really high, right? The problem with doing more than 4 alliance finals, just as an event running goes, right? The problem with doing more than 4 alliances is that it takes longer, right? And so then you get less quals, and quals guarantee that every team is playing, not just the teams that make playoffs, right? So it's all a trade-off, and I hope that everybody, as you experience ARL, you can always tell that like at the forefront of every decision that we make, it's to make it as accessible and as open as possible, and the most of participation, right? Because it's so valuable. We don't want to exclude anyone for how valuable ARL can be. So all that said, be on the lookout for the official team update and the email blast. Lot of robots. Lot of robots. So be ready for that. Okay, so I guess without further ado, let's take a look at at least the top 8 of the ARL Championship rankings. There you go. Right, and so if you look at it, I know I just put the rankings up, but if you look at what Nate put in the chat, we can't go from 4 alliance playoffs to 6. We'd have to go from 4 to 8. So we're basically like, it would be a lot longer. It'd be longer than what we're doing. So yes, so sorry, it's getting late. The championship rankings, the two at the top have not changed. That is because both 2403 and 6413 have won 2 events. 2486B has moved on up to 3 with their second event and their win. 3853 coming in at number 4. And then 2486 Prime, number 5. 7755 at 6. I got a feeling these guys are going to captain an alliance going into the ARL Championship, which, you know, to go from not that we're there yet, not jinxing anything, but again, some things I can take a lot of pride in as an ARL, you know, founder and event director, to go from a third robot last year for ARL for the playoffs, right? For ARL Championship, 775 to go from that. I know it was the B bot, but it doesn't matter. To go from that to a captain is really, really cool. Really, really cool. So 1165 at 7 and 498 rounding out the 8. I expect things to get really, really hot and heavy and tight in these rankings. Maybe not the top. It's going to be hard to eclipse the number 1 and the number 2, just because when you go to earlier events and you dominate, you have such a advantage because you're going to get those higher rank point averages. But in that middle to low zone of the ARL Championship rankings, it's going to get tight. Absolutely. It's going to get really interesting. We have a lot of teams who haven't played their second event yet. So like we have like 4183 coming up again this coming week, and so that'll be their second event. So we have a lot left in store for the rest of the season. ARL Championship dates, I know people have been asking. I'm excited to share them with you. We are going to be sharing them next week. So we'll be sharing them first on our Instagram, and then we'll post them in the Discord and send out a team email blast next week. Potentially on Wednesday with the team update. And by potentially, I mean probably on Wednesday at the team update. So be ready for that. No ARL warm-up next week. I hope everyone can appreciate that with the quick turnarounds of these qualifiers. I personally I need that Wednesday. I gotta do stuff. So no warm-up next Wednesday. But the following Wednesday, we will do another ARL Extra Innings. I really enjoy doing this and hanging out with you all, so we will be back for that. If you would like to see the full ranking list, if you don't see your team here in the Discord, if you join the Discord, you can find the full Excel sheet, or someone from your team is in the Discord. The full Excel sheet is in the Discord, and you can find it there. It's kind of a perk for being in the Discord. Just like you can find the full event archived video linked in the Discord and nowhere else. So Discord's the place to be. If you're in there, make sure to use the bot command to assign your name or your account to your team. That way we can ping and see how many people from every team is in the server. In fact, if you do that, I can give you a shout out, just like I'm going to do right now. Let's see. Hold up. Shout out to... Where's the count? Shout out to 1165, who currently leads the Discord in number of team members in the Discord with 18 team members. 6479 with 16 and 6413 with 14. So if you're in there, make sure to link. The full VOD for this last event leads to the August event from last year. For realsies? Wow, which guy would have messed that up? Hold on. The one Arheo posted the other day? Yikes. Alright, we'll fix it. It's definitely there. It's probably my fault, and by probably my fault, I mean it's my fault. Whoopsie. In fact, if you're in the... Scroll. If you're in the Discord... Boom. Copy link. $16 terabytes? Sheesh. It's pretty large. I'm just gonna post in the general right now, only because I don't really have a better place to do it. That should take you. What the heck? That should take you to the qualifier. That link right there, in the general. That should take you there. We'll update Arheo. I'm sure we'll edit his post. Kidoki. Yeah, full air. Which channel? It should be an announcement. Should have just been posted. Season high score should also be in that Excel. Maybe whoever, maybe a mod in, maybe someone in the chat can post it. I don't have the Excel open, actually. Just have the top 8. Season high score is probably like is it like 108? It's a good question. It's a good question. 98. Close enough. I had the 8. I had the 8 in my head. It's close enough. Close enough. Alrighty, y'all. Well, it is, wow, a brisk hour and a half show. I'm just gonna have to update this show by default. It's gonna be an hour and a half because we just keep rambling. I ramble. We watch the matches. 98 with 10 penalty points. Is that this past weekend? Seems familiar. Sounds familiar anyway. We like the rambling. Good. Good. First ARL. First one. Somebody cooked. Somebody cooked. Highest. Okay, 94. Good. All right, everybody. That's going to do it for this evening. As always, thank you so much for hanging out. These extra innings episodes are growing. They're growing. I'm loving the more interaction in the chat. I'm looking forward to the next one already. I'm looking forward to next week, the event. I'll see you all there. Please keep an eye out for those updates. Also, keep an eye out for some special Twitch shows that we're going to have coming in the next few weeks, announcements of them. You know, maybe, I'm not saying anything, but maybe a fundraising stream coming. Maybe some special episodes. You know, last year we did a deep dive on the 2012 year. I think we might do that again this year. So if you're interested, we might take a look at 2016 or 2017. So we have a couple other Twitch shows coming out pretty soon, or at least in the next couple months, as we approach the end of the ARL season, regular season, and the state championship. So thank you all again. Make sure to follow us on the socials. Drop the YouTube subscribe. Join the Discord. All that good stuff. See you soon. And by soon, I mean quite literally a week. Bye-bye.